You've joined Schnezny Presents. I'm Bethany Ashton, your host, talking today with Glenn of the Pink Pepper Tree Hotel in Mallorca, Spain. Thank you so much for joining me this afternoon, Glenn. I'd love to ask first about your experience and what compelled you to join the hospitality industry. Can you tell us a little bit about your business relationship with wife Jacqueline?
We moved to Mallorca as an idea to start actually a retreat. So the idea was to create an environment for people to relax and really treat themselves. So to step away from all the stresses and strains of being at home and being at work. And the concept we sort of came up with was what we called home hotels. So we wanted a space where people could relax and really just recharge in an environment which was different and could also be stimulating. So that was the idea behind the Pink Pepper Tree.
Yeah. And did you receive any guidance or mentorship early on?
I think we actually opened, and from our guests we had some really good guidance and they gave us good advice. So what's really the positive about our work environment, although when we're open it's quite intense, you build up a really different relationship with guests, and they don't actually become your friends, but they are like friends. And we've actually had some really good advice from guests about, in the beginning, for example, Jacqueline was cooking every night. And then a guest just said to us, listen, you're never going to survive if you try and cook every night, because you can't be a hotel and a restaurant if there's only the two of you doing everything. And we took her advice, and then we only cook now Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And that works perfectly because there's some really good restaurants in the area. And people also like that opportunity of going out and exploring the local cuisines. And Mallorca is very different, which is nice. The mountains are so different to the plains, to the coast. So it's really nice for people to get out and see that too.
And can you name one organic feature that you are most proud to present at your home hotel?
So there's two. In a sense, we're really proud about, let's say, how we created the building, because it's almost got an Energy A label. So we use solar heating for the waters, we use pellets, and the whole design, we've tried to reuse as much of the furniture as possible. So there's that side, the whole building side of which we're really proud of. And then I think it's every year the garden is getting better. So we try and use a lot of products from the garden. So every year there's a sort of new product. So this is the first year we've had chickens.
Oh wow.
And so now we've actually then got really organic eggs. And I mean, the wonderful thing about chickens is that anything which is left over, not anything, but some of the fruit which might fall from the trees, you can give to the chickens, and then that gives you beautiful eggs. So that's probably at the moment our number one is our chickens.
Yeah, the waste management, it's organic, it's great mulch, fertilizer, it's excellent.
Yeah, that's true. So we do a lot of also, let's say in the garden, all of the green, we then used it as compost, and we then put that back into the gardens too.
Can you name 3 significant sustainable or regenerative features at your hotel? I know we've spoken a lot already on your design and the structure of the hotel. Are there any other features, 3 features that you could list?
In Mallorca, they're quite good. So all the plastic we separate, the paper we separate, the glass we separate, and those get all collected separately. And then everything which is biodegradable, we then put in the compost. So that and now with COVID, because of the regulations of that, we have to then now have disposable paper towels. So we've now got plastic which is biodegradable, and we're then putting those paper towels into the biodegradable plastic, and then we put that in the compost. The food that we source, we try and source locally, and we do a lot with local wines too. So in Mallorca, there's a lot of people don't know very much about the wine here, and it still surprises me that you go to a restaurant and they've got 2 or 3 local wines, and then mainly mainland wines, where we've got a really extensive list of wines here. So that's something too which I think is about celebrating the local terroir, the local culture, the local heritage.
What's your favorite local wine?
This year there's been a new producer from here in Beni Salem, and he produces a mix between a grape called Escursac and Montenegro, and that combination, that red wine, it's incredible. So that's my, at the moment, one of my favorite. And then what's nice about a producer like him is that even if you went onto Vivino and you looked for him, you won't find him. He's like that small.
Oh, wow.
But he's producing these incredible wines, which basically nobody's heard about.
Yeah. And what would you eat with that wine? What would you prepare?
One of those, it's a lighter red wine, so you can actually eat. You wouldn't eat really heavy red meats with it, but you can eat almost anything else with it. It's so versatile. And it works really well with like any white meat, any fish. It's an incredible wine.
It sounds delicious.
And it works really well with the way Jacqueline cooks, because her cooking is also quite, maybe call it Mesopotamian. So there's quite a lot of spices, a lot of fresh herbs, a lot of so it's not traditional Mallorquin, and that people can get that if they go out into the villages, and then they can eat the traditional Mallorquin food. But it's also in the warmer months here. It's something people really like. They like that sort of slightly lighter food as opposed to big plates of meat.
Would you describe your home hotel as more of a sanctuary for health and wellness, or an activities-based recreational retreats, or something entirely different?
It's a mix. I mean, I think there's people who specifically come here because we have a wellness section too. So there's people who specifically come here just to really relax, to get away, and to have the wellness. So to be able to do the walking meditations, craniosacral massage. But then there's also people who come here, their idea of wellness and relaxation is drinking nice bottles of wine and eating good food and sitting at the swimming pool. Yeah. So it depends on what people are looking for, but it's definitely and the idea is that people can come here and really recharge. I think that's a sort of one of the central themes.
Yeah.
And how you do that is up to you.
Yeah. And how many of your guests would request yoga or meditation?
Funny enough, it varies often according to the time of the year. So at the end of the year and the beginning of the year, we have more people coming for, let's say, the wellness, and in the sort of more what's traditionally the high season, then we have usually less. But it also depends on when people can get free and where they are in their lives.
Yeah.
But we're very, very lucky that we have a lot of space. So let's say, I mean, now you're just looking a little bit behind me at the sort of the dining, what we've changed into the dining area. But outside we've got quite a big swimming pool, and there's a lot of space around the swimming pool too. So we're lucky that we're not a little, let's say, a village hotel where we don't have a lot of space. So there's a lot of space for people to relax and get out and enjoy themselves.
And what's one of your favorite spots, or Jacqueline's favorite spots to meditate or practice yoga?
I mean, so one of my favorite spots is we've got a deck between two almond trees. And it's actually one of my favorite things is sitting in a hammock in the almond trees. That's my favorite relaxation. And for Jacqueline, I think it's swimming at the moment, swimming in the swimming pool.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little more, Glenn, about how your services or processes have changed during coronavirus? From front of house, the restaurant, guest accommodation, your general interactions with guests?
One of the things we've had to change, one of the main things we've had to change is that for breakfast we used to have a buffet, and now that's not possible. So people have to fill in a list, and then through that we do the breakfasts. I mean, the cleaning, so everything gets cleaned more regularly. And we're also using, as well as, let's say, the normal detergents, we use a lot of ozone water cleaning.
Okay,
I know that ozone water is there's some people who don't believe in it, but we find it works really, really well. So we try and use that as much as possible to disinfect everything. and it's not going to be as harmful for the environment either. So we're very happy with. So that's one of the main things we did at the beginning of this year. The price of the room is usually including breakfast, and then people can do lunches if they require. And then Jacqueline cooks it 3 times a week. But the evening she doesn't cook, we can also do like a tapas type platter. And then because we've got all of the wines from here, people can also, we've got an honesty bar, so people can also help themselves to their own wine, or have their own bottle with their own number in it, and they can then help themselves if they go out or if they stay in.
I love that idea. And how has the surrounding landscape changed in, say, the last 9 months?
We're lucky that in the middle of the island, people have been, in a sense, less affected by the corona. So on the coast, because that's so dependent on tourism, and that's really been affected, whereas here it's definitely less affected. But what's happened is a lot of the restaurants, the sort of the good restaurants, are only open on now, like either only on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So they're not open. They used to be closed for 1 day or 2 days, and now they're closed for 3, 4, 5 days. So depending on where they are. And I suppose one of the advantages of being a sort of a small scale hotel is that the guests get a lot of we can give people a lot of advice depending on what they're looking for.
Yeah.
Although, let's say the example of the wineries here, there's a lot of the wineries here are so small that they don't even have time to do visits even when it's not busy.
Okay.
Because they don't see that as their core business.
Now, if the global health warnings were to cease today, like right now, what of your COVID response processes do you think that you might actually keep in place for the long term?
That's a good question. I think there's maybe 2. I mean, for us, one of the advantages we found with doing the breakfast list is because we do breakfast between 9 and 11 in the morning, and some mornings nobody comes for the first hour.
Yeah.
And now what we do is we actually ask people roughly what sort of time do you think you're going to come. So that for us is actually quite a nice system. So we might keep that. Yeah. And then what we used to do is behind me used to be the living room. And then where the dining room was, we've now made the living room. So we've actually created a bigger dining area. And also in the COVID, or now what we do is every Saturday we have an open restaurant, so people from outside can come and eat. So that's something that we're thinking of doing, carrying forward to. Because we live here, we're actually open at the moment. So if people are on Mallorca and they want to stay, then normally this time of the year would be gearing up to close, but we're going to be open in November, December, which is nice for people if they're traveling.
Yeah. Or stuck in Schengen area.
We're stuck and they're looking. Because the weather here, I'm not sure, is really. If it rains, it's cold. But if it's in the winter, you can have days of 20, 22, 23 degrees, and at night it gets quite cold. But during the day, it's often really beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, even with the rain, I can imagine looking out the windows at the garden with your tapas and wine, and it just.
Yeah, there's definitely worse places to be. That's a good question. I think possibly traveling to parts of South Africa. So we did a trip once around the Drakensberg and then going to Umfolozi National Park. So that area I think was a really wonderful holiday.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much, Glenn, for joining me today. Thank you for watching Schnezny Presents. For more, visit our website, schnezny.co.uk, or reach Arthur and I here to book your very next vacation.